I check it again at the end of my shift and I was at 5,000 reads. So I had gotten 1,000 in around an hour, which I was blown away. Hi friends, today we're going to be talking about how my first ever Wattpad book blew up when I was only 15. In honor of almost finishing my 3rd completed fanfiction and my 4th completed work on Wattpad, Through Our Silence, I'm going to be talking about how I initially gained success on Wattpad through my first book, I Told the Stars About You. Currently, I Told the Stars About You has around 140,000 reads, I believe, and a couple thousand votes and comments, and the comments on it are actually hilarious. And some of the poems I wrote for I Told the Stars About You are in my poetry book that it's now published. One of which being on the back, and the other of which being one of the first in the book. This video will be for entertainment purposes, but also for the purpose of helping new writers who might want to try writing on Wattpad to gain some skills and knowledge of kind of how I did it and how I got lucky and what I think made me get lucky in sort of blowing up on Wattpad. Not to mention my first try going at it, which it was surprising to me, because I Told the Stars About You is kind of like an alternate universe with an original character named Annie Brooks, and I wrote it sort of in peak Draco Talk time when fanfiction was kind of out there again, and I was seeing a lot of these original character stories, which I think are less popular now, but that's okay. I mostly write those still, although I'm gonna start trying to write Dramini pretty soon, because that's what I majorly read. Basically, Annie and Draco like bond over stars. They fall in love and then things happen. They break up a couple times, and at the end of the year there's this whole scenario where the Death Eaters want to get revenge on Dumbledore for contributing to putting them in Azkaban. So it's kind of an interesting plot, but not as interesting as some of my other ones, so people continue to like it though, years and years later. I wrote it when I was 15, so that was 2 years ago. I think it was completed in February 2021, maybe January. And I wrote it fairly quickly too. It's around 4 hours and 30 minutes in length on Wattpad, which I don't usually write super long projects, so that's like decent for me. But yeah, I'm gonna get into some tips now and kind of tell you the journey of I Told the Stars About You and how it all happened. So, when I was writing I Told the Stars About You, I had a pretty small platform on TikTok. Much smaller than I have now is what I mean by that. My ring light died, so sorry if the camera angle is a bit different, but as I was saying, I had a bit of a platform on TikTok at that point, and I was posting about the parts I was releasing as I was releasing them, which did get me like a little bit of a head start. So definitely like try some marketing methods. If you don't like TikTok, that's okay. Instagram works well too. I've seen a lot of people have success with that. And I also made some Wattpad friends over there, so we would go on to each other's books and do some engagement, like voting and commenting on each other's books and reading them, of course. I had a few people I would do that with, and it really helped like boost my engagement and sort of just to create like a sense of community. Like I gathered followers pretty quickly just by commenting on people's like conversation pages and being friendly, kind of like saying you can promote your books on my page if you want. Another thing I did with I Told the Stars About You, it was kind of unintentional, but I did make it so it kind of is set apart from other fan fictions. Not only is it in an alternate universe where Voldemort doesn't exist, but like I did some little aesthetic things with the actual like formatting that I think kind of set it apart and made people be like, oh, this is new and different. I know a lot of people put pictures, which I totally would have done if I knew how at that point. I put a quote or a poem from Pinterest with, I always would say who it was by, unless it was by me, which then I would just make it the whole chapter, which you might see if you ever read I Told the Stars About You. I put quotes and poems at the beginning of every chapter that related to the content of the chapter. I would title every chapter, used a fonts app, it's actually just called Fonts, to do my titles, which I still use it to this day. And I would put poems throughout the book that I would write, which some of them are in The Certainty of Stars, my poetry book. People kind of got into a habit of commenting on these and saying like if they liked it, if they had heard of it. stuff like that. So I definitely think it's a good thing to boost engagement and to make the whole thing look more aesthetically pleasing. Let's talk about cover now. So with my cover, I originally had somebody on TikTok. I had like a kind of contest thing, and people sent me their cover art designs, and I picked one of them from there. Then I kind of got into cover design, and I'm still super into it to this day. The first cover I made wasn't spectacular, but it was all right. And then I improved it to be a little bit more themed around the book. It was like a hand design, like the reaching hands, like from Pinterest. You might have seen it. It's pretty popular artwork. And then I think we proceeded to like the cartoon era of my cover, which I had started writing Deception, which is another one of my finished works. So I matched the covers to one another, and I think it was pretty cute for a little while. But then there was a cover that kind of had a breakthrough for me. I believe I changed the cover once it was completed, and that cover brought in a lot of attention for me. People would be commenting on my TikTok, I love the cover, I love the cover. I also loved the cover, but now I just feel like it's kind of childish. I edited like Draco's face to look cartoon, which I think looks really good actually. And yeah, I just wanted it to look as cohesive as possible because the image already existed. And I think I did a pretty good job with it. But I did end up changing the cover recently to fit my sort of dark aesthetic on my page, which it's not as good as the other ones, but I think it's really pretty. And at this point, I told The Stars About You is not my focus. I'm not trying to attract new readers to it because I wrote it when I was 15. It is not my style of writing anymore. It's not my style of story anymore. So if people read that and then expect it of my other works, I feel kind of bad because that's not how it's very juvenile. It's very cutesy romance, fluffy. It's not as dark, you know, some of those darker things and more mature themes that happen in a lot of fan fiction. That's what I write now as I'm a lot older. Let's talk about the difference between work in progresses and completed stories. So back when I was writing I Told the Stars About You, it was very popular to do whips, like to be have a posting schedule for your book, to upload new parts every other day or every 3 days, something like that, once a week. I think I did it very frequently because I had already written a lot of parts before starting to post, and it really did motivate me to like see people starting to read the parts I'd already posted and be waiting for new chapters to come out. That was very motivating for me. But I'd say I was probably like halfway through the book by the time that actually started to happen, before people like started to see my actual work that was being released every week. But when I finally hit completed, that's when the real success started to come in. So it does kind of prove that completed works are more popular on Wattpad. They push them out more, and people gravitate towards things that are finished just so they don't have to wait. I'm going to guess here because I don't actually remember. I think the book was at around 2,000 or 3,000 reads by the time I hit completed. And then that night, that same day, I went to work at my job at a restaurant, and I remember I was with one of my friends, and I looked at, we don't get breaks there, or I don't work there anymore, but we didn't get breaks there. So when it was really dead, I glanced down at my Wattpad, and I saw that it was at 4,000 reads, and I'm like, that's kind of crazy. Like, and I had made a TikTok about it that day that I'd finished it, just letting everyone know. And so I check it again at the end of my shift, and I was at 5,000 reads. So I'd gotten 1,000 in around an hour, which I was blown away. I was like, is this gonna keep happening? How overwhelmed do I need to be right now? And the success kind of just climbed from there. I remember hitting 10,000 reads. I was on top of the world. I was so excited that people were enjoying my work, and it was really motivating for me to continue my writing career, honestly. And very affirming. It affirmed that I can do this. I am kind of good at writing, at that young age. Like, people are telling me that my writing is really strong, like, and they're really enjoying this, and they'll come back for more. And I think that's just another thing, is that people on Wattpad and AO3 are looking for quality writing, not exactly the trashy fanfiction some people stereotype it as, like something that reads like a book, something that has imagery, something that has a really descriptive setting, some genuine characters, which I tried to introduce in I Told the Stars About You. and people received it really well. I have some original characters in there, some from the series obviously, and it was received really well. So I'm really grateful for that experience, and although I Told the Stars About You may not be my favorite thing I have out there, it always will have a special place in my heart and a special place in my published poetry book. Anyway guys, I hope you learned something today about some tips on Wattpad writing and how I gained success at such a young age on Wattpad, and I hope you'll go read some of my works over there if you're interested in fan fiction, or I have a novel over there, Saturn Sun, as well, for you to read, and let me know what you think of today's video, and I'll see you soon.